Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Matheus and in this tutorial I will teach you how to use the matplotlib for Python. You will learn how to make this kind of plots using Python. It's important to clarify that this tutorial is not for absolute beginners. You need to know some basic concepts about Python and programming before going to learn how to use libraries. You can find the information about this library in the matplotlib website, matplotlib.org. I just created a new project in the PyCharm, and I will erase this main preset code. And let's create a new file, Python file, and name it tutorial 1. The first thing you need to do is install the libraries that we are going to use in this video. To do that, you can write pipe install matplotlib and wait to the Windows install the package. I think I will install also the NumPy. NumPy is a library that you can use linear algebra inside Python. Some basic concepts about metrics and vectors. First of all, let's import the libraries we are going to use, that are matplotlib. I will name it as plt, and let's import also the NumPy and name it as np. Let's define a main function only for organization of the code. Using NumPy, let's define some variables. Let's call it x as an arrange of 10 numbers. If you print it, we are going to get the number. If we print the array that we just created, we are get the numbers from 0 to 9, that in the end is 10 numbers. Okay, now let's define a second variable called y, and will be the square of x using NumPy. And let's start using the basic concepts of matplotlib. We can write plt.plot. In this way, we need to give two parameters. These parameters are the x numbers from a plot and the y numbers from a plot of the axis. Then we can write plt.show to show our plot. It's important to clarify that this kind of syntaxes is very similar with MATLAB. This is intentional and is for make it easier to people who knows MATLAB to learn about matplotlib. We can run the code and we get our first plot in this tutorial. You can save the image in a directory. You can give a zoom in some area, or you can just move the curve using the matplotlib. Let's now start a second example that in the now we are not going to use the functions that are similar with the MATLAB, but we are going to use the functions that are from the own matplotlib. Okay, let's define the same variables in the second example. Oops. And now we are going to create a figure. A figure is an object that contains different axes, and each axis is a x and y plane that we can plot our figures. Okay, we can create an axis inside this figure. To do that, we write the name of the x. I will call it ax. Fig.add subplot, and now we need to give three parameters. The first parameter is a row, the number of rows that our figure will have. The second parameter is the number of columns, and the third is the index of the figure. We are going to be using only one figure, only one x in the figure, so we only write 1 1 1. In the axis I will plot x and y. Then let's see if the code is working. Okay, it's working just fine. Now let's learn some concepts about the library. We can create a grid to visualize easily the plot. To do that, we can only call xgrid equal true. Let's test it. No. Xgrid true. Yeah, that's perfect. Now we are seeing a grid on our plot, and also we can add x label and y label. To do that, we write x set x label and the name of the label, and x set y label and then the name of the x. I will call it my x label and my y label. Also, we can add a title in the same way. X set title, my first title. Let's see, it's working perfect. It's also possible to add legend to the title. It's important to know that the parameter inside the legend function should be a list, and each element of this list is a new line for the legend. I will write so my legend because we are going to use only one curve in this example. Let's test. It's not working. Why? One important thing is that the legend function should be below the plot function. In this way, this will work. Let's test it. Let's test it. Okay, it's working perfect. And if I write this function below above the plot function, I will not see the legend. See, I'm not seeing. Below the plot curve, we can see the legend, my legend. Let's now create a third example, and in this example I will create more than one curve in the same figure. Let's first define the x variable. Now I will create a line space from 0 to 20 divided 200 times. And let's create two y variables. The first one will be a power. Let's create a cosine function of x and a sine function of x using the NumPy. Now let's create a figure as before and add our x. Fig.add subplot and underline subplot row 1 column 1 index 1. Let's add our grid and plot our two. Now let's plot the two curves we created. To do that, we can use the x.plot x y1, again x.plot x y2. To differentiate these two curves, I will add a customization. To add these customizations to the plot, you can write a string after the y variable. The first one I will write an R, and the second I will write a B. R to red and B to blue. I will add my legend. Now my legend will be with two elements. The first element will be for the first curve and the second element will be for the second curve. Now I will finally show my curve. plt.show. Let's test. It's working perfectly. The matplotlib writes the legend in an area of the axis that is easily to visualize without being above the curves. And in the final example, I will just copy the example 3. I will be using the same curves, but I will create two axes in this example. And now the subplot will have two columns. One for the first index and one for the second one. I will add a grid to each one of the figures. And now for each axis I will plot the curve, and then I will simply write plt.show. As we can see, we can generate two axes in the same figure using the subplot function from matplotlib. Thank you for watching, and do not forget about liking and subscribe for the channel. Thank you. Bye.